You know Konami, they are doing absolutely crazy things. They will release one of the most broken cards ever, and this card is hidden somewhere here in this deck list. So guys, welcome back. Today we'll talk about a card that I can't really believe Konami did really print, and I think it's a really problematic one, and we will get it within the next few weeks. And no, it is not transaction rollback that you can see here, which is also quite an insane card. There is a other card in this list that is also in other lists in the OCG, for example Pearly, which is just insane. And the cards, or the card that we could look at that comes close to what the cards we are talking about is doing is Salesman. And if you don't know Salesman, we can take a look at it. We have it in the TCG. It says declare one card name, so normal spell card here, not a quick play spell. That's important to keep in mind. It says declare one card name. For the rest of this turn, your opponent cannot activate cards or effect of cards with the same original name as the declared card, which is cool. You can activate this to, for example, block an Ash Blossom or any other hand trap that you want to have blocked. The downside obviously is that you cannot really activate this on your opponent's turn because it is not a quick play spell. Otherwise that would be way better. It is a card that's sometimes being used in some decks but has never really shook the meta. The same restriction applies to you, but for the rest of this duel instead of just this turn is another reason why this obviously is a bit bad. If you block an Ash Blossom here, then you will not be able to use the Ash Blossom yourself. So if you side deck the Salesman in a best of 3, that is, then you might be wise to put out the card that you want to Salesman here. So maybe your strategy is really impacted by getting hit by an Ash and you want to avoid that. So you can maybe then go for the Salesman, put out your own Ashes because you go first, and it would be not the worst thing in the world to put out a hand traps when going first. So this could be something that you could do with the card Salesman here. But Salesman is not the card we are talking about. The card we are talking about is like similar to Salesman, and as I already said, hidden here in the Labyrinth deck. The card we are talking about is rletoel, which is so funny because it's like it's German. Yeah? This is the original card's name, but it's a German name. It's Teufel, which means devil. So Teufel is devil, and also the term Rumpel is something. It's not really a word in German, but it's there is the word rumpeln or herumrumpeln, which would mean something like you are like searching for something, and you maybe up on the oh man, now I'm blanking on the word, but you're maybe downstairs in your basement and you're searching through some boxes and you're rumrumpeln and searching something. So Rumpelteufel, so really strange name, right? This is the first thing that came to my mind that I saw when I saw this card. That is before I read this card. So let's read it. It's a trap card, and it says declare one monster card name. Neither player, so this is cost, neither player can special summon monsters with that original name for the rest of this turn except from the graveyard. Obviously it's not the same as its Salesman because this one says it cannot be special summoned, though we will see in a moment that this also has another effect, but it's similar to Salesman, right? So declare one monster card name, neither player can special summon monsters with that original name for the rest of this turn except from the graveyard, and then you can banish this card from your graveyard and declare one monster card name. Neither player can activate the effects of monsters on the field with that original name for the rest of this turn, and you can only use one Rumpelteufel effect per turn and only once that turn, which definitely is something that makes this card a bit more fair. Otherwise it would be very insane, though I still think it is insane. And it comes together with, as I already talked about, this transaction rollback card, which we will get a bit sooner. Transaction rollback also a card that's similar to Rumpelteufel in the sense that transaction rollback has also an effect that you can use on the field and then has another effect in the graveyard. So really insane traps here. Obviously a big support for the Labyrinth archetype, but as I already said, you're also seeing this card in other decks. Why is that? What is so insane about this card? The insane thing is that you basically, this is a side deck card or maybe even a main deck card that you can use against every deck, right? Because there are a lot of decks and only some decks don't fulfill this specific condition, that really their core play or their maybe combo, what they want to achieve, their engine, there's something in there that wants to be special summoned. So the other day I played against a friend of mine. He was playing pure Snake Eye while I was playing Labyrinth with the Rumpelteufel, and the Snake Eye, pure Snake Eye deck, as well as the Snake Eye Fire King deck, which I showed you in a video I think yesterday it's up in the right corner if you want to check. A totally insane deck will dominate the meta, and I show you why it's insane in that video. You can check that out, as I already said. But Rumpelteufel, so I was playing Rumpelteufel against him. I played Labyrinth, and obviously you want to use your Snake Eye Ash to search for your Snake Eye Populous, and then special summon your Snake Eye Populous, for example. And obviously you can just go Rumpelteufel, call Snake Eye Populous, and then your opponent is basically locked out from this part of the play. But you can call whatever, right? So it doesn't really matter what you are playing against. You can disrupt one of their base plays, and they can basically not do anything against this. And compared to Salesman, this obviously can also happen on your opponent's turn, because this is a trap card. And then this would already be enough to make this a really strong card, in my opinion. Then you can also banish this card from your graveyard and declare, so let's say in your opponent's turn, you activate Rumpelteufel to basically lock him out of his place, because then he cannot special summon anymore. And then the turn goes back to you. And maybe the opponent has some way to start plays on your turn, right? Or maybe you give back to him and he tries again to start his plays. And then you can just banish this card from the graveyard, maybe once again declare that monster's name or that monster's card name, and then neither player can activate the effects of that monster on the field for the rest of this turn, which once again can be used to basically lock out your opponent from achieving his strategy, from doing his combo, from getting back into the game. And obviously if you play this in Labyrinth, the cool thing that you can do is just to quickly switch over to the Labyrinth decklist here. The cool thing is that you can use the Rumpelteufel as well as the transaction rollback, obviously. You can use the Rumpelteufel to just discard this for your Stovitorbi or your Chandraglir. That way it will be in the graveyard, and then you can use the graveyard's effect, which obviously in some situations the graveyard's effect will be more effective, while in other situations the special summon effect would be more impactful, because different decks do different mechanics or use different mechanics to get to their game plan. So in case of Labyrinth, in case of playing this in a Labyrinth deck or in even a discard deck even, that's also why we saw Pearly playing this card, because with the Pearly cards you need to discard something, and discarding the Rumpelteufel obviously gives you advantage on the opponent's turn, gives you another interruption, which is really insane. So I can't really believe that they like printed this card. And here is my prediction. Obviously this card will not go to 1 or something when this comes out, but this is a card that will be a hit on the ban list at some point. I think, I'm not sure if it will be forbidden, but I think this will be limited or something, because it's just too generic, it's just too general and too strong. Obviously in decks that don't have a discard mechanic as Pearly has, or Labyrinth, which obviously can make use of any traps, this is obviously a bit weaker, that's for sure, but you could still just tag it into the side deck for specific threats, and especially if there is a meta that is like dominated by a deck that wants to special summon or that has a core play that needs special summoning, then obviously Rumpelteufel could be a card that you could use especially against this deck, but then also against other decks. And I think this is what makes this card so insane. Normally you would side in like board breakers or hand traps for specific decks so they can interrupt their main play, but then maybe against other decks you cannot really use them. Maybe you have your Ghost Spell against Labyrinth and that's quite nice, but then you cannot really use your Ghost Spell against, I don't know, I can use it against Fire King, for example, but there are decks that you cannot really that effectively use Ghost Spell against, for example Centurion. So there are always upsides and downsides for specific side deck cards, but in the case of Rumpelteufel there are no real downsides, right? Because it's so general and so useful with both of its effects that you can basically use it against any combination of decks, and that's what, in my opinion, makes this card really insane. But enough of me here. I'm really interested in seeing how this will impact the TCG meta. I also want to hear from you. What do you think after having read this card? Maybe you have seen the card already. Maybe you already played with the card over in Omega or on Dueling Book in the new Phantom Nightmare format that you can play on both platforms. Maybe you've played it. Maybe you also have thought about this card already. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think it's insane? Do you think it's maybe a bit overhyped. Also really interested in seeing what the rarity will be. I'm predicting, I don't know, secret or ultra rare. They would be very wise to make this a secret rare because I think this is one of the hype cards from the set. But yeah, guys, this is all for now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for being here if you still are. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing, hitting the thumbs up and the notification bell, as this helps me out a lot. And we will see each other in the next one.